And here we are back again for round 4 of Keystone Review Practice. Number 6 says a line segment on a coordinate plane excuse me, representing the distance a bicyclist is from home has a slope of 35/2. On the line segment, x represents the time in hours that the bicyclist has been riding, and y represents the bicyclist's distance in miles from home. The bicyclist began his ride at home and rides his bicycle at a constant rate. So how long will it take until the bicyclist is 140 miles from home? Okay, so the slope tells us that he goes 35 miles in 2 hours. Okay, so that's basically what that's saying. 35 miles in 2 hours. So 140 miles, we have to figure out how many times 35 goes into that. So let's kind of do it as a proportion. So 140 divided by 35. Well, 35 times 2 is 70, and then times 2 more is 40. So that gives us 4. So that tells us we've got 4 of those segments, but each of those segments is 2 hours long. So 2 times 4 gives us 8 total hours. Okay, so 8 total hours is D, so that's correct. Again, notice how they added some tricky questions, tricky answers for you. So A is 2 hours. Well, that's what we calculated, that's what we got from the slope, 35 miles in 2 hours. B is 4 hours. That's what we got when we took 140 divided by 35. So if we just didn't think about our answer, we might have answered that. And then C is 7 hours. So I don't know, I guess if we figured it had to be more than what we started with, we might guess 7. So be careful when you make your choices. Please be careful. Alright, number 7 says the ordered pairs shown below are on the same line. So we have 6, 4 and 12, 6. So these are on the same line. So if I graphed them, that might be a strategy to use here. Which equation describes the relationship between the x-coordinates and the y-coordinates in the ordered pairs? In other words, if you haven't guessed, they want you to write a line in slope-intercept form, write the equation of the line. Okay? So if I have 2 points, the first thing I want to check is to calculate my slope. So I'm going to start with that. So subtract our x's, so we have 6 minus 4. Subtract our y's, 6 minus 4. And subtract our x's, 12 minus 6. Make sure you subtract the same way. So we get 2 over 12 minus 6 is 6, which reduces to 1/3. Immediately, that has eliminated A and B because the slope of both of those lines are 3. Hopefully you didn't fall for that trick and you didn't do your x's over your y's. Y's over x's always in slope. The next thing we have to do is we have to figure out what the y-intercept is. Since these 2 points are further away, you could guess that for each time our y goes down 1, then our x goes down 3. So we want to look at when our x is 0, that makes our y-intercept. So if x is 0, what is our y value? If I look at the first equation, C, 0 times 1/3 gives us a y value of 10. If I were to graph this, 6, 4 would be somewhere over here, and 12, 6 would be up here, right? But then, that point just doesn't want to stay. But then, if I looked at y equals 10, 0, 10, well, 0 is to the left of this point, but 10 is way back up here. So that doesn't make sense, because that doesn't make a straight line. We want it to keep going down. So that means that D is the correct answer. Another way you can do this is take one of those 2 points, substitute it in, and see what makes sense. So if I just did the first one, 6, 4, let's test it. So we could say 4 equals 1/3 times 6 plus 2. Well, 1/3 of 6 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, so that makes sense. So D is the correct answer. If I tried doing that with C, I would get something that doesn't make sense. Please bring questions to class if you have them. This is something that you're going to have to do again and again. It's definitely going to come back to you. Okay? For the next one, Michelle went on a bicycle trip. The scatter plot below shows the distance she had traveled for various lengths of time during the bicycle trip. So we see the distance in miles is our y. See distance over here? And the time in minutes is our x value. Okay, so she's biking, she's got time, she's got distance, and they want us to figure out which equation describes the line of best fit for the scatter plot. So remember, we've been doing lines of best fit now for a little bit. So how would we do it? Well, I might draw something that looks kind of like this. Okay. So my y-intercept is close to 0. If you look at C and D, my y-intercept is really big. It's at 50. So that eliminates both of those. The difference between A and B then is the slope. So we need to look at the slopes. All right? So if I look at the slope here from one point to another, you can see that each box on my x-axis represents 20 minutes. Each y represents 5 miles. So in this case, if I look at, I don't know, 3 boxes to the right and 2 boxes up as kind of a ballpark figure, this tells me that I'm going to go 10 miles in 20, 40, 60 minutes. So which slope is close to that? Well, the one that's close to that is the one in A. Okay? It's about 11 over 50. Okay? This sign means approximately or about. So that would be, my guess is A. Notice what they did in B. They had the same y-intercept, but the slope was the x value over the y value. So you have to be careful. You have to know that slope is change in y over change in x. So slope is change in y over change in x. Always, always, always. So make sure you review that. Make sure you know that information. Okay, just a couple more here. So Marty has been keeping track of the number of visitors to her new website for the past 9 months. The graph shown below shows the data Marty recorded. So you see number of visitors versus month. Number of visitors note is in thousands, so you want to make note of that. It's not just the number of visitors she had, but it's in thousands. Okay, based on the trend shown in the graph, which will most likely be the number of visitors to Marty's website in the 12th month? In order to figure this out, we're going to look at a kind of line of best fit, kind of a trend up this way. So it looks like I'm looking at about 8,000 visitors. Definitely not A and B, because the trend basically is going up. D would probably be going up too much, so C is the correct answer for this one. Hope you got that one. Shouldn't have been too bad. The next one, is a stem and leaf plot. So Brent works at a tire store. He recorded the number of tires sold each day for 2 weeks in the stem and leaf plot below. Daily tire sales. There's a key below. Note that whatever's in this column, the first column, the left column, is like our 10, so this really represents 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. And these each represent tire sales. So 84, 86, 93, 98. So those were sales, daily sales. Okay, so what is the median of the number of tires sold each day? Median is really important. We have to remember median is the number that's exactly in the middle. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to start at my low end and cross off, and then the high end, and I'm going to cross off the pairs as I go and figure out which one is in the middle. Well, right here is our middle between 115 and 119. So we average the two, and the number that's right in the middle is 117. I hope you remembered to do that. So average those two together, and it gives you 117 sales. Okay? On to the next one. This is the last one in this set. So Hank counted the number of scratches on cars of different ages. Hank then created the scatter plot below, showing the relationship between the age of the car and the number of scratches found in each car. So number of scratches is your Y, age of the car in years is your X value. Based on the line of best fit, which most likely is the number of scratches that could be found on a car that is 30 years old. Okay, so 30 years old is this last line up here. So when we come up here, we're looking at somewhere between 80 and 90 scratches. So something between 80 and 90 would be 87 scratches. I hope you extended your line appropriately. Feel free to write all over the test. Only your answers will be recorded in the test booklet. Remember that. But you're welcome to write on the test and to extend lines and to exclude answers by crossing them off. I really hope this helps. Stay tuned for the next set.